Good morning. This is our Daily Tarot. So you may hear a couple of different noises or sounds in the background as we go through the reading today. One of them could be some hummingbirds as they come around because I am kind of in their space by way of my placement of their bird feeder over here on my kind of stoop porch area, and they may be communicating to each other or just kind of telling me to buzz off, quite literally, because I'm in their space. The other sound that you may hear is a sound that sounds kind of like a gunshot, but it isn't a gunshot. It's actually a bird cannon. And no, it doesn't shoot birds, and it doesn't project them in the sky either. What it does is it's just a sound machine that spooks birds away from eating berries or cherries specifically, because the area that I live in, there's a lot of cherry orchards, and we had a late freeze this year, and so it is a little harder as far as cherry production. They're trying to spook the birds from eating all of the berries. So you may hear those few sounds in the background today. As far as the cards go, I pulled us 5 cards today. The opening card that we have is the Judgment card, coincidentally enough. This card has shown up a lot in the last week, and also the last month or so. It's a major arcana, which means we're looking at some kind of life lesson, something that we can't really just turn our heads away from. And really what this card is all about and why it keeps showing up is because we're all going through this rebirthing process. It's as if each one of us has had this deep inner calling that we've known our entire lives. And it's quite possible that through conditioning, we chose a certain path that was what we felt was responsible and the thing that we were supposed to do by society's standards. And now something else is stirring within us that's going through a deep transformation process. And so we're having to take a deep look at ourselves and our life, the journey that we've been on, as well as the journey that we really want to carve out for ourselves. And that is a rebirthing process. And so it's calling us to make some hard decisions by way of where we put our energy and effort and where we put our discipline in our daily life. Now, the challenge that we have that's showing up for us today and perhaps this week is the 10 of Wands. So the 10 of Wands is this energy of just being really overwhelmed by all the things that we have to do. If we have one wand, we have a lot of clarity in our direction. We have the inspiration to move forward with a sense of purpose. But we can see that the person here is carrying 10 wands, which is this crystallization around an effort around just doing and taking on as much as possible. It's, like the yes person. It's as if you have a full-time job, you work before that job and after that job, and while you're sleeping or laying down in attempts to sleep, your mind is always working on things that you have to do or things that you want to do. And it's just that sense of just doing all the time, And we can see that the person here, as they're carrying all of that willfulness, they don't really see where they're going. Whereas a single wand would be a really strong sense of direction and purpose. 10 wands is just kind of being lost in doing so much all of the time that we don't really see the path that we're carving out for ourselves. So that's the challenge that we're working with today, because we're having to take a really hard look at if any of these things really are things that we have to do, or if they really are expendable when it comes down to where we really want to go in life. So the way that we're going to get through the challenge showed up as another major arcana. It's the Charioteer. So this person here is armored fully, and they are in a chariot that is being led by these two creatures that are in front of them. One is black and one is white, but you can see that there aren't really any reins on these two little creatures. And yet we also see that there's like this familiar area or familiar space that the charioteer is leaving or moving away from. So they're on this journey. They're on this journey of conquest. They're on their path, quite literally. And yet there's these two different colored creatures in front of them, which symbolize our desire nature and where we can lead ourselves and how we can lead ourselves in different directions. The thing that's missing from this card, which is also being hinted to, is the reins that we have to ourselves establish by way of learning how to manage our energy and our resources and where we put our effort, rather than having our effort spent all the time in this willfulness that takes us into this kind of entrapped life of feeling, like a slave to doing. And so this card of the Charioteer is calling us to task in a lot of ways. And interestingly enough, it's also associated with Cancer, which is where the sun is right now. And so we have this energetic, that's a really active time right now. Like in the season of the year, late June is a really active time. And there's a lot of things that we feel called to do and a lot of things that we are invited to do. And so we have to be more, attentive to where we put our energy and our effort so that we can control where we take ourselves by way of the mind and by way of the emotions as well. And so, we're entering into this space in a couple of days where it will be a new moon. And so it's a really powerful time to consider where we want to go and what is going to take us to a place of victory in life. So what is your inner calling you to move toward, and to give yourself some kind of discipline so that you can tread that ground and lay that path for yourself. Now, the overall outcome that we have for today, I pulled the 8 of Swords. So the 8 of Swords is an interesting card because it's hinting to this kind of, entrapment of the mind that we can have around our sense of limitation and, like what hurdles are in our way or what isn't working. And yet it's also, reminding us that this too shall pass, that it's important for us to consider that everything moves in cycles and that we need to continue to lay the seeds of what we want to build rather than being completely entrapped in the mind. And consider that, swords as a suit are symbolic of the element of air, and the element of air shifts like the wind. And so we have to be attentive of where we put the mind, because if we put it in a place of limitation, we're not going to take advantage of the opportunity that we have with this new moon by wanting to plant the seed of where we want to be putting our energy and effort for the rest of the year. And I told you that I pulled an extra card for us because I didn't want to leave us on the 8 of Swords, because for a lot of people that card can seem a little intimidating because the person in this card is blindfolded and bound in a lot of ways. And we may feel like that sometimes, And so I pulled another card for clarity, and we received the Ace of Cups. And this is a really welcoming card, I guess, in my position, because here we see someone who's open to something new, open to more of an experience, and open to something that is coming in that's of an emotional quality. And that leaves us vulnerable. And yet, it's so important that when we feel trapped in the mind, that we go to the things that we do have a sense of gratitude and abundance for, you know, and what we do have that we can work with, because there is something in that. And when we place our mind in this place of lack, and then place our will in this place of overdoing, it can be really hard on our emotional body and really hard on our emotional being. And so it is important for us to take the time to nurture ourselves by giving ourselves good food and having time in nature and reaching out to family or friends that you trust and you feel nurtured by when you interact with them and have an exchange with them, because we can get lost in the mind, and we can also get entrapped in the mind and entrapped by way of our willfulness. And so it's important for us to have discipline in where we put our energy and our effort, not only with our day, but also with our week, and to make a plan with ourselves and be open, you know, to that which is coming into your life as an influence, because it's helping you to figure out how to manage your own being in the realm of interacting with other people who are all also trying to listen to their inner calling and figure out how to lay their path in front of them. So how can we reflect that to one another and hold space to one another, and also wish each other well? I send you all a good wish today, and I hope you are listening to your own being by way of what it needs and where you feel called to put your energy and effort in life right now. I send you a lot of love. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.